Hey TD Superheroes, my name is Alejandro Perez, your sidekick, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to fix some geometry issues that we have been working with. We're going to build a script to do it. So if we move the eyes, you'll see that the base shape has been deformed. So it's kind of creating some flickering around the neck. So probably what that ended up happening to be able to do that was that I had kind of like a deformer set, and then I went in and on the base shape deleted the history, and then I kept on building off from that, and I don't have a clean original head. So ideally you would save out a extra file and make sure that you never touch it, and then that way you can fix it and update it. So I didn't do that, but we can still fix it with some code. To prevent this in the future, what I did with my code here is I kind of added more of the defaults that I needed to the script, and I cleaned up the clear scene function. So if I go clear scene, there is a function. There we go. So I go through all of my elements that I need in the scene. So I go and query all of that. And I got the base head, the joints, the head, and everything, the eyes, everything that is in the scene that I need to make sure that is reset to a default position. One of the things I did was reset the controls. So basically all of the controls I go through and zero out. So that way there is no deformations on this. And then after that, I check if something exists in the scene. And if it does, I delete the history. Certain things like the joints and the controls, I don't need them anymore. So I delete the objects themselves. And then things like the teeth, where there's a constraint and we have a set of groups, I go through and check to see if it exists. If it does exist, I go and delete it. So you can see right here, I check to see if the object exists. If it exists, I look through the relatives, and if it has the zero offset groups, basically if it is a child of something else, then it goes through and deletes them. So that makes my cleanup a lot nicer than it has been in the past. So I can go to clean scene and I'm back to the defaults. But we can see that even with the defaults, I have that weird modeling issue. So we need to write a code to fix that. Let's go through and build the skeleton. I don't need anything selected anymore. Create rig. So it goes through and imports all the blend shapes. And at this stage, we could have a blend shape that we want to kind of get the default values from. But an easy way to kind of do that is just take one of the blend shapes here and put it all the way activated. And then we can take that shape here and duplicate it. So we have basically the eyes, one of the eye blend shapes here. But we can see on the geometry here in the neck that it is clean. And we can look at the base head here, and let's turn the visibility off on this one really quick. Oh, the head looks fine because the blend shape is activated, but as soon as we take this and put it back, you can see the weird deformation issues. So we want to get that to default. I'm going to hide the joints to make this a little bit easier. And let's start the script, and I hid this. Just Control Z until I get it back. There we go. So take the joint and turn the visibility off. There we go. Okay, so I need this shape. I'm hiding it. I'm just going to basically be taking the elements that I want from that one. So let's go to a empty tab here, And we're going to start off by import maya.cmds as MC. And then we're going to create a function. I'm going to define align vert to vert. So essentially what we're going to do is take the vertices of one head and align them to the other. Luckily with us, because we know that they're blend shapes, the point IDs are exactly the same between one point and another. So we're going to take the selection. I have already built the script, so I'm actually going to copy this and paste it so that way we save some time, and you'll see it jump in the future between code. But here we basically get a selection. So let's test it by print cell, and you can see what it does. And let's actually run this function. Align vert to vert. Invalid syntax. Oh, I see. No, yeah, because I have the colon there. Okay, so we can see how we have the base head there. But if we go in and select the vertices, for example, we'll get each individual vertice. So right here with this, we're creating a list. So mc.ls, we're creating a list based off of the selection. And then this is a variable that we set to true. And basically what it does, I can delete it so that you can see the difference here. So we can see that it's telling us we have the vertexes between this range and this range. And then here we have an individual one. And then here we have a range again. So when we add the FL equals true, what it does, it gives us each individual point individually. So it doesn't ever give us a range. So we're able to separate the vertices into individual vertices because we're going to actually loop through them now that we have a list. Okay, so what is that going to look like? We are going to make a for loop, and we're going to create this variable vert, and we're going to basically loop through the selection, and each time it loops, the vert value is going to change. So we're going to be going through each individual point and doing something. Another thing that we're going to need is, one, we're selecting the points here, but then we also need to have the mesh that we're going to be getting the point information from. So we need to be able to get that selection and know that we don't actually want to do any of the process on this last one, moving any points there. So basically, if the vert is equal to -1 on the select, which will actually work backwards on the selection. So as long as this is the last item selected, it's going to check for that. What are we going to do? We're just going to pass. And basically that will do everything for each one of the points. And let's do an else statement here so that we can see. You're going to print vert. Okay, so if we go here, we can see each time it individually prints a vertex. And the last item that goes through the list should be the iBlend that we selected here last. And we can see that it's not printing net values. So we know that we are only iterating through the points. Actually, we're iterating through everything, but we're only going to be doing anything inside of this else statement, which is going to be all of our vertices. So if we look at the names here, we basically have the vertex number, and then we have the geometry number, or the geometry name. So we can say head, base head geo. The last one would actually be iBlend, which is the only thing. So we want to be able to get that name and kind of update it so that way we can relate the points from one head to the other, or one geometry to the other, as long as they have the same vertex numbers. So we're going to create a condition here. We're checking the, oops, wrong statement. Let's try that again. So what we're going to be doing is splitting the name. So we're getting the base name here, and we're splitting it by the dot. So we're taking the whole string and we're splitting it into an index, and then we're telling it keep index 0. So that's going to give us the base head here. Let me pause this, I might not need that. Okay, so now that we've split this into 2 sections and we kept the base name, which is going to be this default name, we want to take the full name, which is going to still be Vert, and we're going to replace the base name with the name of our last geometry here. So let's go ahead and do that here. So we're going to create a new variable. It's going to be our target points. We're taking the name Vert and we're replacing the base name with cell -1. So we've already established that cell -1 is going to be this target geometry that we're aiming for. So that's going to be the new name. So let's test this out. And what I'm going to do is print the verts, and then actually let's do an f string vert comma target points, and we will run this. Oh, because I need a colon there. So we can see, let's add a space and run it one more time. There we go. So we have the base header here. Then we have the vertex number. Now we have the eye blend, which is that duplicated head we created, and it is going to be the same exact point. So we have both elements that we can do, so that way we can compare the points and be able to assign new values to them. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to need is the position of the points. So there is a Maya function. We're going to get point position. We're going to basically be aiming at the target points, and we're going to base it off of the local position to the head. So the reason we're choosing local is that, for example, if we turn the visibility on this head here, and we unlock the channels and move it. So if we were using this head over here to adjust the points from, we can get the local translations of each point from its pivot compared to this one. But if we had it set to world, which is the default, it's actually going to shift all the points in world space over to where this head is. So by setting it to local, we can have any shape that we know is an exact copy of this, even if it's in a different world position, and actually be able to get a good position for being able to fix the issues. Okay, the last thing we want to do, and actually let's print that really quick before we go further. And read this at the end now. And then let's do point position over here. Oh, I don't have anything selected for the points, so let's try going through that again. We have the points there, select the head, then we can run all of this, and you can see we have a X, Y, and Z value for our point positions. So all we have to do at this point is transform the points from one position to the other. So we're going to take the initial vert value. So we're going to transform. We're going to use the xform command from Maya. Get the original vert. So we're getting this vert here. World space is going to be false because we are going to local space. And then the target position is going to be the point position that we've generated here. So let's get into a side view so that I can kind of select all the points properly. So actually, let's just grab everything from the bottom here. And then let's look at select the head, and then we can run all of this. Okay, so if we look at the base head now, we don't have any of the weird deformations. Everything looks just like in the head here, but you'll see that if we move it, we're still having an issue. So what's going on? That is because we've already created the blend shapes, and then it already has kind of the deformation associated with it. So now that we have a fixed version, what I'm going to do is clear the scene, and let's get rid of this head for right now. Let us create the skeleton, then create the face rig. It's going to take a second, and then once it is done, we can actually test it. So let's look at the eye movement, and we can see that we're not having any weird deformations on the jaw here. You can see that there's some kind of shaking of the brows, and I don't think that is a natural blend shape. So let's take a look. Let's say we kind of take this, and you can see even when we're doing the mouth here, we're getting that eye movement, and the mouth should not be affecting the brows all the way up here. So what I'm going to do is kind of repeat this process. I have this blend shape all the way up at 1. I am going to duplicate it so that way I have my target here. And then I can go in and select the vertices, on the head geo here. And I want to get kind of this area here. And I'm going to make sure I kind of go all the way up to the top. There we go. And then we can do the same thing. Select the head, and then go to our script editor and run this script. It goes through and fixes everything. And again, we have to go back in and take this head, clear the scene. And because I have updated the clear scene, it resets everything to defaults there. And then we can create the face skeleton and then create the rig. And we can double check it here now when we are moving the eyes. Let's see how that moves. So it does move the brows, but you don't have that jittering like it did a moment ago, where before it was like kind of like jittering back and forth as it was moving. The brows do move a little bit, but I think that's okay. Let's see here. That moves it. That's to be expected. We have a little bit of extra movement on this brow over here. So what I'm going to do is try to fix it one more time. Let's try this one. So I should not have anything at all on that brow. So here you can see that there's no movement in the brows, which is to be expected. Here there's some. So let's put this at 0. That's all the way to -1. Then we can duplicate the base head, 0 out the transforms here. And then we can go into our side viewport, select the head, go to Vertex. Let's grow the selection a little bit more. Hopefully that's okay. I think it will be. So then we'll select that other geometry and go back in and run the code. Okay, minimize this, delete the extra head, clear the scene, create the face rig, and then we can hopefully do one final test. So let's check the eyes here. Let's check the mouth. So we can see that there's no extra deformation there. Let's check the brows. It's only moving the brows, that's good. And I think what's left here is just kind of the little bit of eye movement that is incorporated with these blend shapes already, because everything else looks okay. So the base head is good. The eye movement is what's deforming the eyes here, but it's not creating the jitter that we had before. We can check all the other blend shapes. They are great. We don't have any weird deformation on the neck or anything like that. So we have a working tool now, and basically at this point, between lessons, I'm going to go in and I'll add another tab, and I will add this as a bonus tool, this script here, so that way when we run this code, if we, at any point we needed to be able to fix anything, we can fix it afterwards through our bonus tool here. All right, that's it for this video. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye.